Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is the art community, and this is season 2. Let's give it up, y'all. Season 2, season 2. Yeah, I am here, first of all, with the MVP, Ariel Young. Hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
and
Welcome back.
I'm Chris Rice. So we have a great lineup, and one of our first lineups for today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but he go by the name Caleb. Tell him who you are, your title. Just give him everything.
For sure. My name is Caleb Brown. I am an oil portrait painter. I'm a speaker. I don't really enjoy self-promotion, but they say I'm supposed to. And
Yo, you should. You gonna learn about me?
so I've done work for Jimmy Carter, Killer Mike, Big Tigger, CeeLo, Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young, to name a few. And I've given a couple of TED Talks, and I'm a sinner saved by grace.
Yeah. Hey. I want to get back to the early years, and we talk off mic from Fayetteville, Georgia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about yourself growing up and how when you recognize you have a thing for arts.
Yeah. I've always been pretty artistically inclined. Like it's just something I always remember being able to do. I believe it's something that just God blessed me with, the ability to see things really well and render them. But growing up, I wanted to play football. I wanted to go play football at the University of Alabama. And that was
I'm from Tuscaloosa.
Hey, no way.
Yes.
I didn't even know. Bro. I wanted since about 2004. I just wanted to go play ball at Bama. And we weren't good when I became a Bama fan. My dad went to UA, so I had a connection. But I was basically loving Bama just on the history. So when Coach Saban comes and we end up good, I made the best decision of my life becoming a Bama fan.
Hey.
But because of that, I wasn't good enough to play at Alabama. But I ended up going to play football at Mercer, and that was really kind of my upbringing, just one big athletic journey, truly, and just trying to be the best person I could possibly be along the way.
Oh, no.
When did you say that you knew that you were always artistically inclined, but while you were, so first, like before you made that bigger transition into just pursuing art, how did you still practice or, keep art in your life while you were an athlete?
That was interesting. I think there was a gap there from probably like my sophomore year of high school until like my junior year of college. I just didn't really create as much anymore. It wasn't something I felt like I could lose. So I just didn't really care to do it as much. I was trying to be all in on the football thing. And it wasn't like, I wasn't missing it that much. Like every once in a while I'd draw a picture, but it was just because it was never something I thought I'd do. So it didn't bother me that I wasn't working on it.
Right.
But I didn't create a lot. It wasn't until I just happened to I had to take an art class at Mercer. They make you double major or minor in something. So I ended up a minor in art because I figured whatever is art, I can crank that up pretty easily.
Right.
And that was kind of how I began to tap into this notion that, okay, I might be pretty good at this. It might be worth doing, but I still never got serious about it until later.
So when did you get serious about it? Well, let's just go ahead and jump into that.
Yeah, for sure. So my football career ends, and it's like, okay, no NFL. Like, so you're kind of very clear about that. So the plan was to go and become a physical therapist, and I had an opportunity to do that. But over the final semester of my senior year, the Christmas break, that's what it was. I was doing my volunteer hours at a physical therapy clinic, and I remember it wasn't fulfilling me how I thought it should. In terms of if this is going to be something I'm about to be doing the next 50 years, I felt like it should be more fun, right? Or just more enjoyable. At the same time, I started to get good at painting, which was a very new thing to me. And I was enjoying it. I was selling a few pieces, and I remember like staying up till like 4 a.m. and I was just energized. It didn't bother me to be up, but at the same time, to get up and go to the clinic was like a big hassle. And so that was the first time where I was like, dang, okay, you're starting to have this existential crisis of, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I'm about to graduate from college, and I'm not as confident about where I'm headed. And so I began to kind of play with the idea a little bit. I wonder if I could do art full time. And I remember I got on Instagram and kind of looked up different people who were doing it. I was like, okay, I'm pretty good. Like, I'm all right. Like, I could possibly do that. And I remember now we're in the final semester of college. And I go to church, and Pastor Dominic Johnson in Macon, he says a sermon. He's like, sometimes we pump fake on our purpose. And at this point, I was thinking, yikes, are you convicting me, God? Like, are you telling me I should be doing something else? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I did what any logical college student would do. I dropped this biology class I needed to go to physical therapy school. So at that point, it was art. I had to. I had no choice. I get a degree, but I couldn't go to physical therapy school anymore. Right. And I majored in psychology, so you had to go to grad school. So if it was just going to be art. And I remember shortly after that, I was painting, and I did a piece of the Migos, and I DM'd some folk, and I was able to get that painting to them. And that happened pretty early, and I thought maybe that might have been confirmation that, okay, Lord, maybe I'm on the right path. Mm-hmm. And that was how that journey from football to art, and here we are now, some 6-7 years later.
Yeah.
Was that transition hard for you? Because I'm sure you heard this before, and I remember you said it too. You know, the starving artist. Mm-hmm. And was it hard, like building your whole life for sports, and then transition to an unstable? Because, you know, we artists here, and you know, people always say artistry, like pursuing art, is unstable. But to me, being grown, I think any career is unstable, to be honest with you, because we're in an era where things are changing rapidly. Like it used to be 10-year increments, but now it feels like 3 to 5, even shorter. So was that transition hard for you? Like, okay, physical therapy, but then be a physical therapist, but also I'm gonna pursue art, and that starving artist, that whole thing, that niche they put out there. Like, how was that selecting, choosing that?
I would say early on, I was probably lucky in that I was naive. So I didn't have a lot of fear, because, like I say, especially when I pop it off with the Migos, who were really hot at the time, I was like, man, if I could do work for them, I'm gonna be just fine. And I had no trouble with that. Like, I was like, I'm gonna be just fine. And I was living in Macon. I had roommates, so the cost of living was very low. So I was able to sustain myself. And I was like this is gonna be a breeze. It didn't really get difficult until later, where it's like, okay, I've done a lot of things, and I'm not sure as to why we haven't gotten to a certain level, I guess, whether that's financially, whatever. And then I was talking with a friend even recently, and I kind of tapped into something else that I never realized. The more you learn, the more you know you don't know. And there's a level of humility that comes with that, where it's like, okay, let me stay humble because I don't know everything. But at the same time, I start to realize just how flawed I am. So the more I learn, it's like, yikes, I got a lot of blind spots. Like, to that point, I was naive at first. And then when I learned, yikes, this is a little kind of a tough journey, then it set in. But that didn't set in until later. So early on, just blessed with naivety, because I was just like, whatever, like, we're going to make this happen. But shout out to Macon being a great place to be able to foster a young artist. And
I always say, like, being in your 20s, it's just like you feel invincible. You just feel like I can do anything. I can conquer the world. I can conquer the whole world. And it's not until you go through obstacles you realize, okay, life is real. Yeah. And speaking of life being real, I watch you speak about a painting that you sold, and they receive it and it being punctured. And you said it was a choice whether we spoke off, might sink or swim. And this is the arena I was talking about. When I started out freelance and doing video production, I remember I took on the opportunity. I knew it was bigger than me, but I was just trying to get money.
Sure.
And I tried to cut corners, and oh man, it turned out really bad. And the client could have sued me, but she said, I want you to take this as a lesson and learn from this. And in that moment, I could have said, I'm not going to do production. I'm just going to leave it alone. Like, that scared. I almost got sued. Like, who wants to go to court? And I could have just pursued something else, but I kept going. Like, what? And going back to what happened to you, like, that obstacle you faced, like, what made you be like, you know what? Even though that happened, I'm going to still keep going.
Well, that particular instance was definitely a turning point for me, because a mental turning point, at least. I shipped the painting, 2 actually. They both show up damaged. And in that moment, I remember before that, I had prayed and asked God, like, hey, or I let him know that, hey, this year, Lord, I want to have great customer service. And then that happens. So the knee-jerk reaction is like, this is stupid. I just said I want to have great customer service. Now we got painting showing up messed up.
Right.
And then then I have this moment of clarity where it's like, no, this is actually the opportunity. Because if you go to Chick-fil-A, we're all from down here. Like, if you go to Chick-fil-A, if you go through a Chick-fil-A drive-thru and something is incorrect or messed up, they'll give you the whole store.
Yeah, they will.
Literally.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
like they'll give you the whole store. And the point was like they show up. Their customer service shows up best when there's a mess up or when there's an issue. And that was that moment of clarity. Was like, no, this is that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I could have, acted. Just as a side note, I'm actually amazed at how many people own businesses and are hostile towards their customers. Yeah. Because like I easily could have been like, no, that's y'all fault. Y'all should have.
Right. Or I didn't have nothing to do with that. That was the shipping company.
It's so wild to me how many folks can be hostile to the people that are paying their bills.
You're right.
And so it was kind of an easy decision. It was like, hey, I'll redo the paintings or I'll give you your money back. And I end up, luckily, they let me redo the paintings.
Right.
And that it just worked out. Yeah. And like I said in the talk, both those customers have come back to me since. So it paid off. It was worth it, I feel like. But that was when I just realized that sometimes the adversity that we go through is actually the path to the success we're wanting.
Right.
Mm-hmm. One joke I always tell is like, sit-ups hurt. That's how you get abs. That's just how it works.
Yeah. I want to know about the support that you had, especially like from pursuing football and then you making that decision to tap into art. What was your support like? Because I know especially like some people who have parents who, see work in a career on the more practical side, and it's just like, okay, if you go into the medical field, if going into physical therapy, it's like they know that you're gonna have a security, and then saying like, nah, I'm gonna do art. Like, how is that? I'm gonna make my living doing art, and how is the support of your family or friends or your even people that you played sports with, like how were they supporting you?
I was very fortunate. I had a lot of support. I didn't have many, if any, retractors. It was all, oh, Caleb, you got this. And maybe it was a testament to the work at the time. Like, it was, to them, they said, yeah, you got a future in this. And so I'm grateful for that because, an artist, we can be fickle.
Yeah.
And if enough people would have been like, I don't know about that dog, I might do something completely different. So my parents, my siblings, they've always been very supportive of everything I do. I think I've always kind of been I don't want to say a rebel, but I've always kind of done things a little differently. So I don't think it surprised them too much that I decided to just do that. But I've always had wonderful support. And I think that support kind of kept me going, especially early. I think about some friends who I would text pictures of the art I was doing during that winter break, and they'd be like, yo, that's dope. And I remember all that feedback at the time. It did keep me going. I know that feedback, it can become addictive, but at the time it did help me tremendously.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
A lot of support. Shout out
That's
to my
good.
peoples.
Yeah. Let's jump into these TED Talks.
Yeah, for sure.
I listened to the TED Talk on adversity. It was so good. I was like, oh, he's born for this. Like you did so well.
Very
you
confident.
spoke so well, very confidently. I don't think I could do that.
Thank y'all so much.
I struggle even just like when we first started doing these interviews. I was like, I don't want to talk. I want to be invisible. I want to ask a question and let the interviewee. That is not a word.
It's all good.
Interviewee.
Entrepreneurship is not a word, but I love it.
Is it really not?
I don't know. I just made it.
You just made that up. Entrepreneur? Wait.
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur.
Oh, that's definitely not a word. I stole
That's
that.
on your site.
I stole that from somebody back in the day.
that's
I
hard.
was like, entrepreneur is kind of loud.
Right.
That's
That's
hard.
how-
I wrote it out. Just like,
Yeah, entrepreneur. Definitely not a word.
But even like for me, like doing just this, I know I'm still getting comfortable in just this realm. But to get on stage and do a TED Talk and speak about your experiences and be motivating in front of a crowd, how did you get that opportunity to do a TED Talk and how did you feel while you were speaking?
Yeah. That was one of the most exciting things I've ever done. The whole day was a whole like a movie, bro. It was so cool, and it was something I've always wanted to do. As soon as I found out what a TED Talk, I want to give a TED Talk. That's dope. And then I had an opportunity, like they were sending out applications for the TED Talk in Savannah, and that's a couple hours from Macon. I was like, let's try it. And it was kind of simultaneously during a season of depression, just a season of going through some different things, and that was like a very bright moment in that. And I remember everything from that day. It was so dope. On stage, it was cool. I think we had practiced. They did a wonderful job of preparing us. And I knew that speech, I could say it like easily. So I knew that even if I zoned out mentally, I could kind of, the muscle memory, I could just make it happen. I do remember being a little nervous because I'd never been on a stage where they could make the crowd dark. They could turn down the house lights. And it was just me up there.
Right.
And TED Talks, there's no feedback. Ain't no clapping. There's no, oh, good job, Caleb. So I can't see nothing, can't hear nothing. Luckily, my support, they all sat in the front. Nice. Shout out to them. They was in the front. And I could see them. That helped me. I felt cool. I felt prepared. It was definitely one of the cooler moments of my life. I was so grateful for it. And I loved it. And to have the positive feedback I did, that was reassuring as well. Because again, you go up there, you hear everybody else's speech and like there's some really good speeches. And to get the compliments you do, people saying, hey man, that was really good for me. That really helped me. That changed my life, or you inspired me. Or one of my favorites, somebody was like, you could be a Baptist preacher. I was like, nice. I grew up in the church. I was like, nice, let's go.
I did too. I was in church. Yeah, I grew up in church.
The thing is, bro, I didn't even think I sounded preachy. I thought I sounded TED Talky, and they was like, you sound like a preacher. I was like, oh, well, all right then. But nah, the TED in Savannah was great, and the TED at Mercer was also dope. That was the second one. It never got put up, but that was probably my preferred speech. I enjoyed that one more, but it was during the pandemic or towards the end of it, so it was a weird situation. It was barely anybody there, but it was very unique, and it was at my alma mater, so it was a good time.
Nice.
Definitely blessings on blessings. I enjoyed doing those TEDs.
So when you're saying, okay, so the TED Talk, so is it something that you get invited to do, or you applied? Both.
Like, it depends. The one in Savannah, I definitely had to find it and apply. Okay. And we went through several interviews for that one. A lot of interviews. As far as the Mercer one, I believe I applied, but I do remember because of the connection, people were like, yo, Caleb went to Mercer. Let's reach out to him to do it. And I remember that process being a lot less rigorous than the Savannah one. Right. The Savannah one was nerve-wracking, to be honest. Yeah. I was more nervous in the interviews than the talk.
Right.
Very much so. And
that's good to know.
To your point about like the angst about speaking, before the interview, I was more nervous, like I said. And there was this gentleman there. His name was Truck Carlson. And he was also interviewing. And I remember I told him, I was like, yeah, man, I'm a little nervous. And he was like, well, just know that they don't know what you know. And I was like, So like, if you're going to give a talk, nobody's there. You're giving the speech. Nobody can tell you was wrong.
Right.
Like, it'd be a different thing if you were giving a lecture on astrophysics, then maybe a different scientist be like, hey, that's wrong.
Right.
But if you're up there giving a talk about your personal experience, who's going to tell you it was incorrect?
Right.
They wouldn't even know if you messed up unless you told them.
Right.
And so that actually gives me a lot of peace even to this day, just to think what Truck told me, said, they don't know what you know. And so anytime I get nervous, that's what I try to remember.
They don't know what you know.
What is the preparation like, getting ready to speak in front of an audience? And I know you say you get nervous, but the confidence is to go do it. I grew up in the church just like you, and I remember doing Easter speeches.
Yeah.
and I was nervous.
That's crazy.
My mom made us remember it, but I was nervous. Even sometimes in middle school, being nervous, walking in the middle of the cafeteria to throw your trash away. Like, where did you always have that confidence in front of people, or where do you think you got it from, or where did it started from?
I think so. I don't recall a time where I've ever been incredibly anxious in front of people. Like, say, regular nerves, right? But nothing that's ever stopped me.
Yeah.
I remember my parents are both pretty charismatic. My family, like, nobody's particularly shy. So that was nothing. I remember I liked probably being the center of attention when I was a kid. My mom loved the fact that I loved Martin Luther King. And so to make her happy, I'd go up and give speeches. I used to sing back in the day, and then
in the church?
No.
Okay.
No. No. Just around the house. My mom would. I remember my mom would like bribe me to sing in front of my aunties and stuff. Like, no. I'm just a karaoke guy now, but to that point, never too many. No nerves that were outside the ordinary. So no, it's just always been my life. Never really experienced it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope. I mean, kudos. I need to rub your arm to get some of that that speaking confidence off
I
of
mean,
me.
for me also, like I write poetry as well, and I said I would love to present this to the world, like on a theatrical, like well not theatrical, more so like a stage, but not just speaking it, but like have instrumentation, sound effects, because that's what I put behind mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I probably need to rub that on.
Man, look, if anything, and I remember Kalia, who you guys had on, she talked about imposter syndrome,
Right.
which is just heavy on all creators, I'm sure. Like
Literally.
and I don't look at it as an ailment. It just kind of come with the territory.
Right.
And honestly, and I've told people this that I've spoke to, if you're doing something new, there probably should be some level of, I've never done this before. You probably should be a little scared.
Yeah.
But I think for me, that would probably scare me more than the actual speaking part itself. It's not the people. It's more so the thought that, who am I to tell them anything?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
who am I to tell this group of folks, adults, or let me not say adults, but people older than me, who am I to tell them how they should live their life?
Right.
And that part is probably more debilitating than the actual being in front of the folks, because I don't mind talking to people. If anything, it's just gosh, who are you, Caleb? You all messed up. You made so many mistakes. You are a flawed individual.
Yeah.
And what moral authority do you have to tell anybody
Yeah.
how they should deal with anxiety or how they should deal with adversity?
Yeah.
And so that's something, is a work in progress. Always still trying to get better at that and
Yeah.
believing, or at least showing up, even if you don't all the way believe.
Yeah. I think when you speaking on that, like, that anxiety or just like that being in your head and imposter syndrome, I have been obsessed with Inside Out 2 and how they depicted like all those emotions.
Yeah.
And now it's like that was so freeing, like to see how they the imagery that they brought to bring those emotions to life. And it's like now when anybody is speaking about anxiety, it's like I can literally see now
The controls.
I can see what the inside of you looks like, or the inside of me looks like, and in a way it's kind of liberating.
Yeah. I've seen all the TikTok clips, and me and my sister are definitely going to see it very soon, because I was like, no, I got to see this.
It's so good.
Because again, you don't really get to see that kind of depiction to kind of name it and show it how it operates. Because so look, God gave us anxiety and fear to keep us safe.
Right.
Thinking the very primitive, it's so that you see a lion and know to run.
Right.
I think in today's world, most of us are not in these life or death situations, and yet the emotions are still there. And so a lot of times we begin to think that we're going to die if we go up on this stage and embarrass ourselves.
Right.
It might suck, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to die.
Right.
Like if you go up there and make a fool of yourself, you're not going to die. And in most situations, even if you fail professionally, you're still going to have other opportunities to try and get better. Because even if you make like in your situation, if you had got sued, right?
Yeah.
It still wasn't the end of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like there was still more to do. Like say if you're out of jail and alive, then you still can kind of make your life better. And I think if we can just get to the point, I think we are living in a world now I'm going on a little tangent, but I gotta say,
No, say it.
I feel like we're living in a world where we're being like kind of prompted to believe that the world is inherently hostile.
Yeah.
Everything is scary. Everybody's out to get you. And it's probably just due to the media, the way social media works. We'll always talk about the things that are most negative about the world. And I still kind of believe that our human experience is net positive more than it is negative. I just choose to believe that.
Right.
But if I operate from a place of everybody's out to get me, I'm always going to be operating from a place of like anxiety, always scared that somebody's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
If you play out all your fears, death is at the end of it.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Because if you get embarrassed, people reject you, then you're out on your own in the wilderness, lion attacks you.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you can have the awareness to know that, I am feeling scared.
Yeah.
but it's not as like I can still show up and not fear for my life.
Right.
And if anything, I want to definitely try to just demonstrate to people that the world is not necessarily hostile, that there's good people, there's good experiences, that you can be happy, that you can go through stuff, and that life is still worth living.
Right. And I think that's the beauty in bringing it back around to art, because that is the job of the artist to bring joy to people, even in darkness, whether that's creating film, creating paintings, music. We need art to keep those simple joys. And I do believe like there's some art that is necessary to show some of those dark times and struggles and challenges, and then having art also to just show the beauty that is still in the world. Those that the positive does outweigh the negative, in that even for the artists who feel so heavily of the world, like, and feel that and we are anxious. We do have that imposter syndrome a lot of the times. And we have our own struggles, but even then, to do the art is therapeutic, to get that out. That is a release. And like me and Chris talk all the time, that he's like, whenever people are cutting budgets, the arts are the first thing to go. But it's like the world doesn't understand how much it needs art. If we have to have art in the world, because then, I mean, it would just be a sad place without
I love that you said that. It's actually a realization I came to recently. Is thinking about my role as an artist, because I paint realism. Like there's no concepts, there's no deeper meaning, and I prefer it that way. And some people would say that kind of work doesn't serve a purpose because it doesn't make you think. And I've been confronted with that on several occasions. And I had a friend say that, like, he's like, I don't really like realism. Like, it's just not, doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't do anything. And I had a hard time even arguing. I was like, yeah, that's probably valid. But then I started to think about just my role, and if I was going to be able to change the world, like we're talking about, through my art, I had to find a way to do it, because I didn't want to try to create fake meaning off of something I was painting, because that's just not me. And I went into there's this dessert shop in Macon called Sweet Eleanor, shout out, best dessert in town. But I went into the restroom randomly enough, and on the wall there's a picture, and it said, a work of art is useless, but so is a flower. Blew my mind, because it started to make me realize that a thing doesn't necessarily have to have an inherent meaning for it to be transformative. And then I always come back to this idea of, you go see the Grand Canyon and it doesn't have a slideshow. It's not explaining to you why it's dope. And yet it does something to you. And I've gone to calling it disruptive wonder, like that joy you talk about. You see something and it's like, dang, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. And maybe my life can be great. You talk about a film. I've seen a lot of movies that have inspired me tremendously, and I cared not to do what's on the screen. Top Gun Maverick. I love that movie. I feel like I might have cried during Top Gun Maverick. I don't want to go be in the Navy,
right?
But there was something about it that affected me, and maybe my goal is like, if I can create art, and if I can be the type of person when I meet people that can create that moment of disruption to make them just reconsider, then maybe I've done my job. And it's not going to be everybody, but I do feel like you mentioned, that role of art is to create some level of disruption so that people can just be better, hopefully.
Right.
Man, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was good.
That was beautiful. Kayla, that was beautiful.
I'm like, I don't even know what to say after that.
I do know what to say next, but that was beautiful.
Thank y'all, man.
I want to also ask, speaking of disruption, we try to keep this topic minimum because it can go all the way left. How do you feel about AI disrupting the art? Yeah. Like, do you feel that it's going to devalue? Like, what do you see AI doing to the artistry and what we do?
It's always, just like with any technological advance, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, because some of that stuff is really cool. Some of it's, I think the more that technology gets just more and more advanced, I think people are going to crave simplicity. And maybe AI gets us back to a better place where people are now going to actually fact check because you can't trust everything.
Right.
Maybe they will prefer handmade art instead of certain types of artificial types of things.
Yeah.
And so maybe this might be the transition because of people's kind of inherent fear of it, that it's like, I think I kind of want the more natural. Give me the old school. Yeah. And maybe that'll be how the pendulum swings back to maybe a little more sensibility in terms of technology.
Yeah.
But it's here.
Yeah.
Can't really do nothing about it. And then again, maybe AI decides that humans are the problem and just blows the world up.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see. But
right.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things I feel like, I can't do nothing about it. So I'm gonna just try my best to adjust. And I do find myself definitely going back to more just simplistic, old school, I guess you call it, types of just modalities and doing things, because it's like, bro, it's so much. Like, I'm the type, I go into restaurants and I hate the QR thing. Like, bro, bring me a menu.
Yeah, I do. I missed it. Yeah, I do.
And I've been to some restaurants now. I ain't gonna name no names because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But it's like, they didn't even have a server. You just type it in yourself. The wing, I ain't gonna put them out. But there's some folks who are like, you don't even. So there's not even a server. And in my head, it's like,
and they still ask for a tip.
And again, I appreciate the dining experience. Like I like going to sit in the place and we're living in a world of consistent convenience and everything. It's like, no, bro, I like to go sit down in the restaurant because I'm running fast all the time. I just want to sit here and just enjoy my meal. I don't need everything to be quick.
Right.
Because it makes me feel like anxiety's at the wheel and we're just spinning.
Right.
So but I do hope that AI maybe swings us back to, like you say, a more simplistic way of being. What do you guys think?
Well,
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, it goes back to, it makes me wonder where it's going to go, but it's kind of out of my hands. It has helped because I do a lot of writing, and it does help. But I'm always like, man, like in my mind, I try not to overthink it. Like, is it going to devalue my value? So I use it as a tool because it's here. There's nothing I can do. Even you work in the film industry, and one of the strikes was all about kind of like AI and things of that nature. So I don't know, but I love what I do, and I just will find a way. To keep pursuing that, because I still love writing, I still love production, but I'm transitioning. I'm getting to my author bag.
Right.
I want to I want to transition because, for me the pivot is, I'm always thinking about, I love video production, but I'm like, at 50, do I want to be carrying around equipment everywhere I go? Like,
whole setup.
Yeah, whole setup. And then also COVID made me want to transition too, because when COVID happened, there was nothing going on. So I'm just like, man, imagine if this happened again. Like, I'll be in trouble. So I found a new passion in that time. Like, I started writing more poetry, and then I started getting to just writing my life. And then I started just writing a script for a series, which I'm doing right now.
That's so dope.
Yeah, so to me, it's just like I'm in a transition mode of pivoting. I'll always do art, and I will use AI as a tool, but it's just really nothing I can do. Just hopefully people recognize, and like you said, do their research and still recognize the beauty in what people create, and not so artificialness.
It's interesting because AI doesn't lend itself to human growth and happiness truly. Because if your life is too convenient, you don't have an opportunity to like reach your potential. So it's like, we go to a world where it's too easy. Then everybody's gonna be sad and depressed, which is kind of what we're dealing with. I think the amount of convenience is like, nobody ever. I think in order to be happy, you have to overcome, and that's not necessarily saying you have to have some massive adversity, but you gotta have some level of, okay, I am a strong and capable human, and if you never have to do anything, then you're gonna feel like you're not a capable human, which then makes you anxious and and depressed. So if we, like I said, we play it out and AI does everything, I think we'll be worse off because we won't have a purpose anymore.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I haven't tapped in. I I had downloaded the Chat GPT when it first all the talk was circulating, and I ended up deleting it. Like I was like, you know what, actually I don't want to use it. Like I need to use my, like I did enjoy, because like with the writing and being able to like put in there like certain things for it to help you go in depth with, like if you want to do like a character analysis or just like certain things. But it was like, man, I'm not really using my brain. Like I'm not using my brain, not like and it's like I'm not, because it's like I need to, like that convenience of like if I'm not sitting here using my brain,
it's not getting trained.
It's not getting,
like
it's not getting trained in. So I deleted the Chat GPT. I stopped using it, but then also I was like afraid that to like things that I was inputting, I was like, you're entering it into a database that is going to stay into that database, and if somebody else is using that database, then they can pull from what you have, right? Like that could just be like,
I hadn't even thought about the security concerns.
like I was thinking, the security concerns, or like, and I think that was some of the issues that they were having too with plagiarism or whatever. Like it basically, if I'm typing in similar things to you and it's giving us similar
I forgot about that plagiarism
answers, I was like, I don't think that. And then I got worried, and I was like, no, if I'm putting in all this information about my characters and my story, it's going to take all this and it's going to give it to somebody else. And I went off on the deep end, and I was like, I deleted it.
That's so funny. I remember I taught a class at Mercer one semester, and when I first got on, they sent us an email saying, hey, there's this new thing called Chat GPT. Watch for the kids plagiarizing. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know how many of them kids used it, but it was so new. But I remember I was like, what are they doing? Like, I feel like a real old head. Cause I was like, what is happening?
Right. Because if there was Chat GPT when I was in high school.
Oh, it's a wrap.
I would have used it.
Yeah,
like this would have gone beyond like, hey, if I do your math homework, will you do my like poetry homework? Like, or whatever. This is like, you swapping that like with a classmate versus like now I can just go into Chat GPT and be like, type in whatever my teacher gave, like the prompt that my teacher gave, and be like, give me a 5-page essay on this, and then just go in and make it sound like myself.
At least get you started.
Get you started. Man, look, or whatever.
I know I was doing that. That's probably a good thing. I
probably would have been valedictorian.
Boy, I would have used that.
Oh, no, I wouldn't. I had a movie review class. We had to write. I do agree with you a lot. Like in this era that we live in, like just interaction, we missing that. Like Ariel know me. I'm not into social media. I love the interaction with people, and going back, not just us using database like far as ChatGPT, but I love sports. All they talk about is points and numbers and data. But like, I'm a basketball fan. What you don't see, what data don't tell you, when you watch a basketball game, who's really going to hustle hard for the ball? Who's really going to play defense? Like, database don't tell you that. They tell you about the points and all these algorithm things that make you be like, yo, this is a great player. But there's certain things that lives inside of a player or whatever that you have to see face to face to determine, like, oh, what? Their skill set. So
Alice Walker has a poem, talks about living frugally on surprise. And I think in our world, we have engineered everything to be so certain. Like we've begun all the technology is so good that, bro, there has to be some chance left up to life. Because if we knew the outcome of the story, we wouldn't keep watching it. Y'all know that.
Right.
So there has to be some risk. I even think about like relationships. I think there has to be some fear that it might not work out. Because when it does, that's what makes it dope.
Yeah.
Because if you knew it was going to work out, it wouldn't be worth nothing. I think that's what and that was kind of the basic premise of the adversity talk was that these things are here to make the sun matter. Because if every day was sunny, we'd get tired of it or we just take it for granted. But because it rains every once in a while, we are very much grateful. And so to your point, it's so much that technology has given us in a positive manner. But to your point, like about chat and things like that, some convenience is better than no convenience.
Right.
But then there has to be some kind of line where it's like, bro, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. And I agree with you that I do think people, because like now on social media, like if you ever just like are scrolling through like posts or different reels or things, and then you go into the comments and people are like, is this even real? Like they're questioning, like people are really questioning, like, is this real? Is this AI or whatever? Like they don't even believe anymore. So I do think that, like you said, people are going to start going back to like that old school.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think a lot of social media apps have just ruined that themselves, because now it's getting to the point where we've lost the mark. Like I remember back in the day when, you could see your friend's stuff. Now, it's just ads.
Yeah.
And I think that'll push people off. But it's probably a good thing. I mean, I've worked with some high schoolers, and I've actually heard them talk about how they love to unplug. And I was like, the young kids.
That's
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we need it, bro.
Yeah, I love to unplug. Trust me, I unplug every week. I don't be on that thing.
As soon as I can get to a point where I don't have to be on it, I do think I'll be off social media.
Yeah, that's a fact. I'll definitely.
Business wise, I think it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, man,
my personal, if you there, you there. You miss it. Because I'm from that era where like, I remember people telling stories like, "Damn, you missed that party, man. X, Y, Z.
Like you just had to.
You had to be there. Oh, you missed it." And I'll be like, I'm still thinking about those parties.
and to that point about us being like, we were talking about people having this idea that the world is just hostile. Social media has made that true.
Yeah.
Because bro, if you go dance and let's say you're enjoying having the time of your life, but somebody deems it to look silly, you're gonna go viral.
Yeah.
You're gonna get laughed at. I had a kid, he's a wonderful athlete. He didn't want to run in a race because he didn't want to lose. And the first time I was like, nowadays you can lose and you'll get made fun of for losing. So it's like now social media is perpetuating this idea that everything is hostile. But if you step into the real world and just hang out with people, you start to realize, okay, everybody's kind of struggling with some of the same things.
Right.
And we're going to figure it out. I do think there's an emerging thought, like just a thought about that. I do think more people are leaning into that. And folks like y'all, putting it out here and making sure we all know about it. I think we're going to be okay. I'm pretty optimistic. Even with everything crazy going on, I think we still have a great opportunity to be great because everybody is able to connect and we're all on a similar wavelength, hopefully. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We here.
We'll see.
I just want to say, what do you see yourself as you grow and evolve? Like, what does that journey looks like for you?
Yeah, this journey will definitely entail art and probably more speaking. Preferably, I would love to get more opportunities to speak and tell people about Disruptive Wonder and tell people that their life is worth living. But that journey is going to take a lot of growth on my part, naturally, and trying to learn to show up even with the flaws as you are work in progress, which is incredibly difficult. But that's what it's going to take. And I know that if I can do that successfully, then surely I can help somebody else do the same thing.
That's beautiful.
That is, man. Yo, you got it.
You got it.
You got it.
Y'all are making my day. Thank y'all.
You got
Thank
it,
you.
yo. A lot of gems. You have any questions for us before we close out?
I did just want to say I appreciate you guys for having me on your platform.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that, and you did. And for that, I'm very grateful. So thank you guys very much. And if I can ever be of service to you guys, please hit me up.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to speak with us. This was good. I'm happy.
Yeah, I am. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you,
was
Kalia. Who?
Kalia
Who. Thank you. Shout out to her for this recommendation.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. that we were able to get you on
Absolutely.
here.
Thank y'all, man.
You gonna close this out, Era? You want me to do it?
I'll go ahead and close out. Well, thank you guys for listening. We have so many more artists lined up in conversations coming for you soon. You can catch us at the Art Community on Instagram, our website, and on YouTube, where you will be able to listen to these incredible interviews. That is the Art Community, DAARTCOMMUNITY. NITY.
Nice.
We got short net.
We got it.
Nice.
Thank you, Caleb, for
Absolutely.
joining us.
Where people can find you, Caleb?
Yes,
Oh,
tell
man.
them where they can find you.
My Instagram is Caleb's Canvas, CalebsCanvas.
Yeah.
And that's my website too, calebscanvas.com. Please give me a follow. Would love to hear from you. Reach out. I want to connect with you. So
Hey.
Hey, and I always do mines. You know where to follow me, but I won't be on there. At highcreatorchris.com. Yeah, follow me.
That is so funny.
so silly.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Until next time, y'all.
Until next time, thank
Peace.
you all. Peace.